Welcome back to another innovation review. Today, we're going to be checking out the Piezo from Monday Motorbikes. First, let's talk about the looks. The Piezo has a very cafe racer style vibe about it, and in fact, most of the Monday Motorbikes have that style, but I think the Piezo really takes it to the next level as far as the cafe style racer look goes. At first glance, it looks much more like a motorcycle than an e-bike. Upon further inspection, you'll see that there's pedals. You see that we've got the hub motor here. So if you were a sleuth, you could deduce that this is an e-bike. The battery housing here on the Piezo looks like it would be a gas tank, so it's fun that they sort of kept that vibe to the bike. The seat here is padded, long, comfortable, and it kind of reminds me of a baseball glove a little bit. When we were riding this thing around in Long Beach, we had a lot of looky-loos, as they say, at some point in history. Lots of people were looking, checking out the bike, trying to see what was up. We had a couple of people ask us some questions. So if you're looking for a bike that turns heads, this is that bike. So as far as looks goes, the Piezo is sort of in a class of its own. It is a very sleek, very stylish bike, and I'm looking to jump into the specs with you here. First, let's talk about the motor. The motor we have here is a 2,000 watt rear hub motor. Now this is a Monday Motorbikes motor, and it's not just branded. They just didn't slap a cap on top of there. This is something that they've designed. They've got patents on it. So this is something you won't be seeing on a lot of bikes out there. It's got 145 Newton meters of torque, and I can confirm that it feels like it's got 145 Newton meters of torque. From a dead stop, even in the lowest gear, even up a hill, this thing accelerates. It is a lot of fun. It's one of the most fun bikes that I've ever ridden, but that's just my opinion, man. The Piezo has 3 riding modes. In low mode, you're using 500 watts of power and able to go 20 miles per hour. In medium mode, you're able to go 28 miles per hour while utilizing 750 watts. And in high mode, you can get speeds up to 40 miles per hour. I asked Monday's CEO about the top speed, and he just smiled and said it was intentionally limited, so there's potentially even more power available here. Now, we tested the motor for loudness, and we don't normally get to do that, so that was kind of fun. And so when we're standing about 10 feet away, it's coming in at right around 70 decibels. So from a noise pollution perspective, that's pretty cool. Next, let's talk about the battery. All the batteries on the Piezo are 72 volt, and they come in 2 different flavors. You can either get a 33 amp hour version or a 40 amp hour version. And that's going to be the difference between 2,376 watt hours and 2,880 watt hours. One of the cool things here about this battery is it is actually removable. Not like some of the competitors out there who say, oh, it's removable, and it takes 40 minutes and some tools to remove it. I'm not going to name names, but you know who you are. The battery is actually super easy to get in and out. It is a little bit more on the heavy side, but with something that is this robust, we need a bigger battery to power it. Now, it'll take anywhere between 4 to 6 hours to get a full charge, and once you've got that charged up, you should be able to get anywhere between 60 to 85 miles, depending on your terrain. So yes, this is a bigger bike, it is more powerful, but they definitely up the game as far as the battery goes. Next, let's talk about the brakes. The brakes we have here are DOT-rated hydraulic brakes. We've got 2 piston calipers grabbing onto 220mm rotors, both in the front and the rear. Now, as we mentioned, this bike is a little bit more on the heavy side, coming in about 115 pounds. So having the 2 piston calipers here is exactly what we needed, and Monday Motorbikes delivered as far as the braking goes. Now, in practical use, these things stop very well. There's also a lot of sensitivity to it, so I felt like I could stop kind of nice and smooth if I wanted to, but if I really wanted to hammer on it, I could make the tires screech pretty easily. And then after playing around, doing a few stops, you find that sweet spot to get yourself to stop fast and without skidding the tires. One of the other cool features, and isn't really an attribute of the brakes per se, but I really like these bright red calipers. It just adds something a little different to the bike. Next, let's talk about the extras. There are quite a few extras to cover, so we're going to go through them pretty quick. If you guys have any more questions about these extras, please let me know down in the comments, and I'll get you some more details on those. Up in the front, we have got a front headlight, we have got low beam and high beam options, and in the back, we have got a taillight. The Piezo also has turn signals, it has a chain tensioner, cruise control, and reverse. The biggest extra we'll talk about is going to be the Piezo app. The app itself is in its final phases of testing. I was able to see a full version of the app, and it's got a lot of really cool features that are going to be tied specifically to the Piezo model. The first thing is going to be bike diagnostics. Similar to how you would go take your car and plug in the thing, get the codes, you know what I'm saying? All that information is going to be available right there on your phone. It'll let you know all about your bike, miles, battery, all that good stuff. Another cool feature I found as far as showing you how much battery you have left is you can see that anytime you want to. The bike doesn't have to be on. If you pull up in the app, it'll let you know how much battery you got left. So if you're at home and you're like, man, do I need to charge my bike before that ride tomorrow? You just pull out your phone and it's like, oh, I do. The other cool thing here about the app is there is GPS integration, so it can track your rides, it can also plan your routes for you, and you can share that information with friends if you're gonna go meet up somewhere. Next, let's talk about the suspension. Up in the front, we've got an inverted motorcycle suspension fork with about 150 millimeters of travel. This thing was sweet. I was eating up bumps, I was eating up cracks, I was eating up curbs in some instances. That paired with the tires here really does make the front forks float really well, but I didn't feel like I was ever losing control or it was, like driving around on a boat. Nothing like that. It just seemed to be tuned really well, and there was tons of travel to make my ride enjoyable. Then in the back, we've got this adjustable monoshock. It was quite literally the most comfortable suspension ride that I have ever ridden on. The other part of suspension that we like to talk about are the tires. So the tires we've got here are these DOT-rated CST 6077s. Now these tires are 25 inches by 4 inches, and they're much more of a motorcycle tire than an e-bike tire. Now the 25-inch tires does cause us to have a pretty tall standover height here, but there is a 20-inch version in the works, so I'm told. Right now, Monday recommends this for anybody from 5'8" to 6'4". They think that's the best fit here. But with these 20-inch tires, it may fit somebody who's closer to that 5'5" range. The last part of suspension we like to talk about is the butt suspension. The seat, as I mentioned, is this custom designed saddle here in the back, and no matter where you sit on it, it is comfortable. Got a bit of a taper to it, plenty of padding. It's also got memory foam on the inside, so I found that to be, just very comforting to my nether region when I was riding this thing around. Next, let's talk about the controls. Normally, we don't necessarily talk about the controls, but there are a few extra options on this bike, so it seemed like it needed its own chapter for this one. Starting here on the right-hand side, we have got our reverse button, so you can put this thing in reverse or in forward. Now, normally, most of the time, you're going to ride in forward, but as I mentioned, having the reverse on this bike was a pretty nice feature. And just below that, we have got our low, medium, and high knob, and just under that, we've got the power button. So that's going to be how we turn the bike on and off. Shifting over to the left-hand side, we have got our lights on and off with our high beam, low beam options, and then our turn signals right underneath that. One goes to the left, one goes to the right. As you know, turn signals, it's turning. And just underneath that fun little button is the cruise control. Now, I personally didn't test out the cruise control when I was riding around, but if you're cruising down a long stretch of road at a high speed, it might make sense to use it here. Next, let's talk about who this bike might be for. Now, I had a chance to sit down with the CEO of Monday Motorbikes and asked him who he really envisioned this bike for, and that was going to be the urban commuters and food delivery workers. Now, I'd probably add a third one to that, just people who enjoy riding around, going fast, and looking cool while they're doing it. So if you're one of those three people, then this is a bike that is designed for you, right? You'd be the ideal customer here. Now, if you're going to commute to the office or someplace where you had a place to store the bike, then this would be, just a great time getting to the office. You cruise there, you cruise back home, you're not sweaty at all. I see that being a pretty big advantage for those people. And then if you are a food delivery person, if you're in a high density urban area, then the battery range here I think could support that as well. There might have to be some slight modifications in order for this to be maybe the perfect commuter or the perfect food delivery, because a lot of people who do that will use racks or things like that. And the model that we tested didn't have those things available to sort of look at the functionality of it. But if you got creative, I'm sure you could come up with a good solution there. Now, for the people that just want to ride around and look cool while they do it, well, this bike's already prepared for that. No accessories needed. It's got the cool big motorcycle handlebars. It's got the cool big motorcycle front light. It's got that cool big motorcycle vibe. It's like, if you want a motorcycle, but you don't want a motorcycle, then this might be the perfect thing. In my experience just riding it around, I feel like it sort of is the perfect marriage between the motorcycle feel and fun and the convenience of having an e-bike. All in all, I feel like there are quite a few things to get excited about here. And I think that covers all of the specs that we're going to cover for this review. So let's go ahead and take it outside for the ride test. What's up, guys? We are out here on the Piezo from Monday Motorbikes. We're out here in Long Beach, back on this little trail off here, and we're gonna do the ride test for the Piezo. Now, what I probably talked about is how this thing looks like a motorcycle, feels like a motorcycle, and so I'm gonna take you along on this journey, and let's see just how accurate that is. Going up a hill again, we're just in low mode. And this little bump here. And the shock's doing an excellent job of absorbing that. The shock system on here is just super nice. All right. Again, just cruising up this hill. Look at Long Beach. You got the port down there. We've got some buildings, more buildings. You know how cities can be. Let's go ahead and put it in high mode. Now the takeoff's pretty much the same in all of them, which is nice. So even if you got it in third mode and you want to hit those top speeds, you're not going to get anything weird and too powerful out of the gate there. Woo! Now, one of the craziest things is, like, we're on this hill. It's a pretty decent incline, and we're just gonna go ahead and put on the throttle, and we will continue to accelerate up this hill. By far, the funnest experience of just having, you know, it feels like unlimited power. Obviously, you know, it's limited, it's capped. You know what the specs are, but such a great feel, freedom, the open road, just cruising. Alright guys, that is going to do it for our review on the Piezo from Monday Motorbikes. If you want to know more about them, I'll have a link to the Piezo page down below. And if you guys have any questions of me, please let me know down in the comments. I love talking to you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.